Hello, Mayor Jeff Schielke speaking to you on Friday, September 11th, 2020. And obviously this is a memorable date in American history for the events that happened 19 years ago in New York City and at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. and other places around the United States where we were under attack. And we successfully, after the fact, sort of dealt with the attack, but we lost a lot of people that day. And that's a memorable day that will be always remembered in American history. There's a lot of people that have special memories and special stories about it. One I can remember hearing about is that we did have one Batavian that was directly involved in it, and that was Chuck Wachonke, or Carl Wachonke Jr., and the Wachonke family were very prominent Batavia residents, and they lived over on North Avenue. And the father Carl worked at Furnace Electric and was one of the management there for years and years and years until his retirement. But Chuck and his son Ross were in school with me in Batavia High School in the mid-1960s, and both of them ended up going off to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. And Ross served, I think, whatever his time was in the Army, and then he retired from the Army and went on to a very successful career with Ford Motor Company, but his brother Carl stayed in the U.S. Army. And on September 11th, 2001, he was in the Pentagon when it was hit by the airplane. And from what he told me of the experience, he was, 500-600 feet away from the point of impact. He said it was just an unbelievable feeling and noise and sensation. And he said it was something that obviously he will always remember, but certainly the meaning of the fact that yet again, in the case of Batavia, we seem to always have somebody that is in very near close proximity to many of the events of American history, such as we were in World War II with the attack on Pearl Harbor. We lost Francis Oborowski, who was the son of in 1940, his father had been our police chief and was killed in a high-speed chase out on East Wilson Street. And then in December of '41, his son was aboard the USS Arizona and went down with the ship in Pearl Harbor Bay. If you go to the memorial today, the Francis Oborowski, there's 1,177 women went down in that ship that day, and they're listed in a plaque, alphabetical. And because of the spelling of the Oborowski name, we have a street out in Tanglewood named after him. Starts A-L-B, and so I believe Francis Oborowski is the 8th name on the Pearl Harbor plaque in there. So Batavia's had its real test of that, and something that I think we should probably have as part of our history, and we do a lot to try to remember that. But I just wanted to, because of the date and the events that surround memorable days like this, we have a lot of memories. Today I've had some interesting things happen to me. I started the day with a very lengthy meeting of the TriCity Ambulance Board, which is held up at the Geneva Fire Station. I have the honor of serving as chairman of the TriCity Ambulance Board, and I guess I've had it since it was created, and today I was re-elected as chairman for another term by the board, and it comprises members of the city councils of Batavia, Geneva, and St. Charles Township, along with a representative from the Batavia Fire District and a representative from Geneva Township. And St. Charles used to have a fire district, but that kind of went a different way, so they don't have that. But we now run 6 ambulances under the Tri-City Ambulance organization. We have 2 based in each one of the 3 towns, and the 6 ambulances are then free to move to any one of the 3 towns instantly if there's a need, and the other ambulances are busy within those towns. The ones in Geneva go obviously both north and south. Sometimes there's been occasions when we've had all the ambulances and the entire fleet at an event or at a call. So it certainly has been proven to be something, but the great thing about it is the health care and the response times and the good work that the paramedics who are based in our fire stations in Batavia on both the east and west side, the great work that they do. Today we heard a report that the ambulance service in the Tri-Cities was a little bit running behind what it had been doing last year because We think that the corona thing had a tendency to have a lot of people stay at home and not be as active, and if they got sick, they probably jumped and went to the clinic or the doctor ahead of time. We were told today we had, I believe, 26 calls for corona victims in the Tri-Cities, and we have it all mapped out and planned out that when we have a call, the guys all put on their suits and masks and everything and go forward. And so we've not had a lot of impact on our staff from it, but we are very, very pleased with the way we've been able to rise to the occasion and handle it. The call volume does now seem to be going back up. I don't know if it's because people are out or they're out trying to do stuff, but there were a couple days last week when the Batavia Fire Department, and I only share my numbers from my town, we had 26 calls for the fire department one day last week, and I believe the next day we had 20. So back in the days when I was a member of the volunteer fire department back in the 1970s, it was very unusual if we got one call a day, and now we're up into these big, big numbers, but it speaks to all the activity and all the people and all the situations that have now come to life in Batavia, and it's a lot of it is, just need for stuff to be. So I've been told that we have, several prominent Batavians who have had some type of mishap, accident. We've had a couple pass away, and I have deferred mentioning anybody that's died unless I know specifically that the family has announced it. And there's a couple of prominent deaths in town right now that I should be making some comment about today, but I don't really want to say anything until I hear officially that the family is acknowledging that a death has occurred. So I apologize if anybody feels like I should be talking about somebody I'm not, but it's because we haven't had the deaths publicly announced yet. So, and I don't, it's just a thing that's very sensitive, and you want to be cautious with that. So I just am here today to specifically salute the Tri-City Ambulance Service and for all the great work that they do. I know of people that have had misfortunes in the last few days, and my heart really pours out to them as people that have hearts of gold and kindness, and to have themselves involved in accidents or misfortunes and falls and whatever. It's very troubling to me to see that happen, and I just send my hopes and prayers that everybody is on a recovery and back into full swing here in a very quick form or fashion. As I do every week, I again want to ask everybody's cooperative spirit in trying to use the mask. I don't wear the mask, as I've said before during these talks, because I am told that sometimes if I speak with a mask on at a meeting or at some type of an event, sometimes this muzzles my voice a little bit. So I have it right here in front of me, and I'll put it on when we're done. But as a result of this, I just want to continue to encourage people to do it. You don't have to go very far to hear that there's a lot of stuff going on in the area, and a lot of stuff going on in our country, in which there's a lot of fears that we haven't got ahead of this whole thing yet. We're still awaiting a vaccine. I went yesterday and had my flu shot, and I certainly would encourage everybody else to do the same thing. They're very accessible. You can get them out at Walgreens, the Jewel, Target. I guess there's a lot of different places you can get flu shots. And I just want to encourage everybody to get one, given what we've already been through with the corona. Those are two separate things. But again, we want you to get ahead of the flu thing this year, because we don't know how it's all going to flush out. A couple of other reminders I wanted to talk about is that we are starting to organize a little bit for the Batavia toy drive, that we service the toys of needy children. I've got a couple of photographs here showing the toy drive. Last year we held it up at the old library building. I'm not sure yet where we're going to hold it this year, but we have the inventory, most of which is being stored at the old Hubbard store, which is now owned by the Methodist Church, and they were gracious enough to allow us to store the toys in there for the moment. And they're also allowing the Batavia Fire Department to use it as a training facility. So if you drive by the Hubbard store, many times you'll see fire trucks and ambulances and firemen hanging around, and they're inside doing various rescue operations and attempting to show new firemen how to do various things in a building. So again, my hat off to the Methodist Church, but also I'd like to encourage anybody that'd like to make a donation to the toy drive. You can drop it off at either one of our fire stations, or you can drop it off down here at the City Hall, and we'll graciously accept it. If you want to make a cash donation, Roy and Jeannie Bailey and their family is kind of always heads this thing up, and they do a wondrous job with it. And again, if you'd like to make a check out to them for the Batavia Toy Drive, I can assure you the money's going for the right place. And I believe last year we serviced well over 600 needy Batavia families who are pre-identified, so we're not just giving stuff away to people who may not need it. We identify who they are and we send them a letter of invitation to come on the date of the distribution, and they show up and we give them the toys. And there's no money exchanged hands for any of the toys. And this is an event that began way back about 1950 by the Batavia Fire Department under old Chief Richter. And he used to repair damaged toys, specifically damaged bicycles and dolls. And he had some ladies at the VFW that used to make new doll clothes for the dolls. So we've had a community spirit on this thing now. If I'm looking at the numbers right, this is about 70 years we've been doing this, and we've done it all, again, never using taxpayer money, but always going forth and trying to do what's best for the community and the people in this town who are in need at Christmas time. So I'm very proud of that. And also I'd like to, again, put in a plug for the Batavia Interfaith Food Pantry down on South Shumway Avenue at Flynn Street. It's right there next to our new water treatment plant. And they do a fabulous job of just distributing food to needy families. Again, they're not just giving it away, they're making sure it's going to people who need it. And they can use your support if you'd like to make a donation to them. And specifically today, I'd like to also cite the, number one, the Batavia, or I guess it's no longer Batavia, the League of Women Voters. I guess there's maybe a Tri-City chapter. And they've been down here the last couple nights at City Hall filming the candidate night, in which they interview all the candidates for local office, and they do a phenomenal job under Mrs. Lackman. She comes in and does all the interviews for them and asks the questions, and she's just a fabulous MC for this. And it's taped by BATV, so if you want to check the BATV listings, you'll see where there'll be the opportunity to watch the candidates for county office and for state representative, and you'll get a good opportunity to understand more of the candidates that are going to be on the ballot in November. And I also at this time want to thank the Batavia Chamber of Commerce for their support of that activity, along with all the other good work that they do. And I also want to thank the Batavia Main Street organization, and they are working diligently to continue such things as the farmers market, and both the chamber and the Main Street help us with that. And there's some very trying times in that whole venue right now because of the restrictions on people not wanting to wear masks or do wear masks or whatever the issue may be, that we are just trying to keep everybody healthy and wealthy and wise. And so we want everybody to continue to wear a mask if you're coming down to the farmers market, and be supportive of the Batavia Chamber and the Batavia Main Street program, along with the Interfaith Food Pantry, because those are three dynamic organizations that truly do make a difference for our town. That being said, I want to cover just a little bit of history, and I always try to do this. And one thing that I want to talk about today is the Batavia windmill industry. And as many of you know, we had the nickname for many years, the Windmill City. That used to be on the city logo and patches and whatever have you. And Batavia was the windmill manufacturing capital of the world between 1870 and 1940, which meant it was about a 70-year run when there were three major windmill factories in town. One of them was the Challenge, of which the buildings are still up in the 500 and 600 block of North River Street, right along the east bank of the Fox River. Another one was the U.S. Wind Engine and Pump Company, which was built around the intersection of Water Street and First Street, and it's where the Batavia Art Shop is, and we are very, very pleased that that's been transformed into that. But the Batavia third windmill or factory was the building that's currently used as the City Hall and Police Station, and that was called the Appleton Main. So the Appleton, the U.S. Wind Engine, and the Challenge were the three major plants. And interestingly, we recently got called to our attention that down in Indiana, the city of Remington, Indiana. Now this is a little town. It's, if you get on I-65 up by Cherville, Maryville area, and you go south down toward Indianapolis, be south of Crown Point and north of Lafayette, Indiana, is this little town called Remington, Indiana. And Remington, Indiana has a Batavia-made windmill in their community right near their downtown, and they've made it into a historical monument. And I have some pictures I took of it here a while back, and this is what it looks like. You can see it's brick on the bottom, and then it's a wood tank at the top, and it's got a stairway that goes through the inside, and then it goes outside when it gets up near the tank. And the guy that's the water superintendent in town is quite a water buff, I'll call him. And so when I was there, he posed for this photograph next to the state historical marker about the Remington Water Tower. So this is the Remington Water Superintendent, and I just wanted to read to you what there's two plaques that they got so much to say about it that they have two plaques on their water tower, and the plaques read, Remington Water Tower, built in 1897 by the Challenge Wind and Feed Mill Company of Batavia, Illinois. Rear tower and wood tank structure is an original example of the 19th century public works utility facilities and their construction method and technology. Tower has a limestone foundation, is 104 feet tall and approximately 20 feet in diameter, with 2-foot thick brick walls. And then it goes on to say, where's the second picture here? Originally built in 1897, the tank was replaced in 1924 by the Challenge. Again, 66,000 gallon tank is made of horizontally curved cypress battens held in place by metal binder rings. Additions made to the structure, which has housed various governmental services by the city of Remington. Awarded the American Water Works Association Water Landmark Award for 1986. Listed in the National Registry of Historic Places in 2003. So this superintendent here is so enamored with this that he and his wife came up to Batavia one time and dug into the records we have, and using the information he found, he went back to Remington and built this model that he has on display in the entrance to the water department of the Batavia windmill water tank. So I was very interested and I had enjoyed chatting with this gentleman because it really speaks well to, you know, some of the legacy of Batavia and some of the work that we did. There's another example of the Batavia windmill water tank up in Lena, Illinois, which is it's in downtown Lena. Lena is just kind of northeast of Freeport, up in that part of the Joe Davies County up there. And it's, again, something to be very, very, maybe it's in Stevenson County, it's the one where Freeport is. But it's up there, you can find it, it's on the maps. And if you go to downtown Lena, there's a U.S. Wind Engine and Pump Company water tank up there. So, and they've got a plaque on that. So we've got a lot of people bragging about Batavia and other places other than Batavia, which is something that we should be bragging about. So again, this should wrap me up for the day. I just want to say, as I said at the beginning, I've heard of people in town that have had accidents or aren't feeling well. I just want to send our best wishes on behalf of the community to these very special people, many of whom have some of the kindest hearts that I know of, and I just want to make sure that they all know that they're in our thoughts and our prayers. And I wish you all well, and I ask you to continue to deal with the corona issue, and that we keep our masks on, and that as a community we keep our numbers continue to be low in comparison to our neighbors, and we want to keep it that way. So look forward to seeing you next week, and have a great week. Thank you.